So we're standing in a new paddock of subtropical grasses here at Ellerston with Rob Tagg. This paddock was sown in November this year to a mix of Rhodes grass, Premier Digit, two types of panic and some SABI grass. These pastures have been used in this area here on some of the harder slopes in the north and northwestern facing paddocks, and basically been used more and more since the drought, as they've come through the drought. A lot better than some of the Phalaris and traditional type pastures that have been historically used here. So Rob's sown a couple of 100 hectares of these in November last year, and this is the result. The cattle are about to come on here, and it's quite a great stand in the first year. Rob might just touch on how he sort of manages these and why it fits the system, providing so much summer feed for his cattle here at Ellerston.
Yeah, hello. Look, I think it's a great feed wedge for us in the summer months. We're hoping to stock at around 1,000 kilos a hectare of beef, and we'll run this 5 paddock rotation through, moving him about every week to 10 days, and even maybe the first year we might get to 12 or 1,400 kilos. But the thing is, it's here every year. This is in first year, but we'll have other stuff we can look at that's in 11 years, and it looks very similar. So it's quite a tough, resilient grass, and it works in with our management program for our summer stocking down in this lower country. Okay, so stocking rates, we rule of thumb here at Ellerston, we try to work on, in the ideal situation is 4 40 hectare paddocks, which is 4 100 acre paddocks, will run around 500, 350 to 400 kilo animals, and that rotation hopefully can go about 8 months of the year at that stocking rate, and the dead of the winter will pull it back a bit. So like I said, our longest tropical here is 11 years, then 10 years, and now we've done this 200 hectares in the last 6 months. What we've learned from it is don't get tied up in the name. Just because it's called tropical, it is a tropical plant, but derived from up there, but it does suit this country. Even for frost-bitten country like us here, we're at 600 metres, we're at 30-inch rainfall right where we are, and I have a look at it. The drought, all our traditional pastures, which are great pastures, but we've got seeders going right now, re-sowing our pastures that were depleted throughout the drought. Those same paddocks that have got the tropical in them, they were back to bare dirt also, but they're now back to a stand like this. And so it goes to show the resilience of these plants and what they can do in the Australian environment. So I think we shouldn't oversow all our property with it, but there should be a percentage of your property, especially western facing gravelly soils, should be planted with it.
So here we are standing in another subtropical based pasture at ORATORA, the Buffia family farm, just out of Beltrees. This pasture here is a mixed species pasture. It's got Premier Digit, some Rhodes grass, some GATTON panic, some BAMBATS panic, and also some SABI grass. This pasture was sown in November 2020, and in January had to be grazed as it was growing so actively after such a great season. Grazed for 6 or 8 weeks, and it's just been given a spell to finish setting seed before the winter months, and then it will be grazed again. So this pasture was established in November, as we talked about, but Neil was diligent with his cropping program leading up to that, so growing forage oats and some forage wheat for 3 years previous to sowing these subtropical pastures with zero tolerance of summer weeds. He was really active on that and did a great job at cleaning this pasture up, which is why we're standing in such a great stand of subtropical pastures today. These should last for a long time, 15-20 years I'd imagine, if managed correctly in this environment before weed encroachment came back into them. But it's a credit to Neil what a great job he's done to get these established. It really is an outstanding pasture. So this paddock is actually in 2 paddocks. It's 150 acres or 60 hectares all up. As I said, in January, Neil stocked this as it was growing so actively and needed to, the pasture needed to be controlled so it didn't lodge and fall over. So Neil, for that period, he grazed it. He had all his cattle on the farm on this 60 hectares, which was great after the drought to give the rest of his farm a spell and let it come away and fill in some ground cover too. So all the cattle on the farm are on the 150 acres during the grazing period to graze it down, to remove some dry matter, to open it up to allow the pasture to set seed. So here we are at Yarraman Park, just outside Scone with Scott Norton, the farm manager here. We're standing in a lovely subtropical pasture paddock sown in November 2020 with the predominant species here, Premier Digit. I'd like to hand you over to Scott just to let him talk about his cropping program and his preparations that went into getting this pasture established.
Yeah, we had 3 years of oats and wheat leading into this. It's very important to clear the grass out because it's a very small seed. It needs a very clean seed bed to start. It seems to handle, it's pretty tough as long as it's got no competition. Once it sort of gets a little bit of rain up and get going, we found that it'll really survive a little dry spell. This particular one had a fairly dry start, but since then has been excellent conditions, and it's really filled in the gaps very nicely.
Yeah, so this paddock is 5 hectares, and there's three 5-hectare paddocks in this farm here where there's 60 cows just rotationally grazing these pastures to make use of the nice fresh growth through the summer months. Scott, you might just touch on how it's suited your operation, how many other paddocks you've got on the farm to fit in with when you need to feed.
Yeah, we've got 9 paddocks now on the 2 farms, and we'll probably put a bit more in soon. It's really turning this hard, poorer country into very productive country. It gives us the feed basically from October right through, well, we're well into April now, and it's still going really well. So it's filling that gap there where the other side of the winter actives, so the Phalaroses and the fescues, it's taking over and filling the gaps in from when they're not producing.